What's the most creative way of driving someone crazy discreetly? Y'all are some evil. Edit. Wow, this is great, I'm reading every one of them. April Fool's Day is gonna be so wonderful, just hope I don't know any secret Redditors. Edit 2, keep them up, votes coming, http://i.imgur.com/5rvo.jpg right parenthesis. Front page. For more infotainment, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thanks for watching. When I worked at a banquet hall in a hotel, I had a manager, who we'll call Steve, who treated everyone like, calling us stupid, calling us out on things not even the managers above him cared about, and just generally being an. One day he puts this pissy memo on the bulletin board about not eating leftover food. None of the other managers cared about this, and it actually went in the garbage if nobody ate it, but instead of signing his name, he put banquet management. Well, as a joke I scratched that out, and wrote Steve. A couple minutes later, he walks over to the bulletin board, sees this, and starts screaming who wrote this, and then runs to his boss down the hall, and starts complaining, and the guy just doesn't know what to say and shrugs. Well, the entire staff saw this and thought it was hilarious, so we start writing Steve on everything. Over the next few weeks Steve gets more and more pissed, and launches an investigation saying that he's analyzing the handwriting. At this point he still thinks it's just one person, despite the fact that the entire staff is in on this joke. He never really figured it out, and I'm not sure how crazy it drove him, but he did get fired for drinking on the job. Glitter. Everybody hates glitter. I came up with this prank a couple years ago. Every morning, I would take some glitter, which conveniently came in little vials, and pour some into my roommate's pants pockets while he was out of the room. Usually I could tell by his morning routine which pants he was going to wear for the day, but even if I got it wrong those other pants would be primed for the next time he wore them. All day he, like everybody else on earth, would put his hands in his pockets to get his phone, keys, or just casually, thereby transferring a little glitter to his hands. He would then touch his shirt, pants, and slash or face at some point. For 2 weeks people would tell him that he had glitter on him, but he was never able to figure out where it was coming from. After going on a rant about how confused and utterly crazed by the sudden appearance of glitter everywhere he goes, I came out and told him that it was me. I could have easily done this for a lot longer, since he never figured out that the glitter was in his pockets, even though I became very liberal in the amount I poured in. This one's buried and I've posted it before, but it's worthy of this thread. I'll give a shortened version. Dude at work was complaining that his spoons were slowly disappearing from the lunchroom. He had brought 6 to work and he was down to 2. Everyone else in his lab hatched this plan. Every time someone sent him an email, at the bottom, in white text, i.e. invisible unless highlighted, everyone would write spoon 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 spoon. We all did this for several weeks. He had a Gmail account, and that's when he started losing his mind. Every website he visited had ads for spoons and flatware. He thought Google was reading his mind. Your lab is absolutely brilliant. I hope they're working on cancer, and not lipstick for ocelots or some such silly. Not someone did to me on purpose, but one that happened nonetheless. At my old rental I had with my sister, for about a couple of months I kept hearing ringing noises, that similar to an old phone ringing, every time I would walk through hallway, kitchen, lounge room, or dining room. Or also when I listened to music on the stereo in the lounge room. For the months it drove me crazy. I would be walking and hear, stop to listen, and lo and behold nothing. I never caught on to how come it stopped every time I looked for it. I thought it was a ghost, humoring myself, or that neighbor's phone kept ringing. So one day I was looking for something in kitchen and I look on top of the tallest cupboard and find this clock. This piece had one of those old school bell and ringer on it. Vibrations from walking/stereo made it ring. For months that drove me insane. No one believed me about the ringing. Turns out my mother bought my sister the clock and sat it on the top of the cupboard where it got pushed back where you couldn't see it. So yeah. Basically, hide an item that will make annoying noise where you can't find it. A coworker of mine used the annoyotron on another coworker for weeks. It's a small device, $half size, that makes a quiet high-pitched beep at random intervals. It has a magnet on it so you can stick it under a chair or hide it in some pretty hard-to-find locations. Sometimes he'd turn it off for a few days or a week only to turn it back on when the victim had let his guard down. He would move it all around the office. The guy started getting desperate after a few weeks of this. He had maintenance come in and take the thermostat apart. He looked in the ceiling tiles and air vents. The icing on the cake was when the prankster put the annoyotron in the poor guy's car. He used to leave it unlocked during the workday. He thought the feds were after him. I worked for about 6 months, transition job while I looked for something better, at a sales job, and had a manager who was this old guy who should have retired decades ago. He smoked many packs a day, wore boots, and was way past his prime. I remember he was always yelling at us and all of us whippersnappers couldn't stand him and laughed behind his back. I finally found a great gig, and knew I would never return, so planned my exodus for a particular Friday. I drafted my immediate resignation, which would show in his email Monday and, when he left early that Friday, I installed an annoyotron in his computer. I took it apart, and installed it on his motherboard. Only an IT guy would be able to find it, and they were out of state. I also informed 2 other guys, who were sticking around a few more weeks, what I was doing, where to find it, and how to replace the battery when it died. I left 5 new batteries in one of their desks. Apparently, the guy went nuts. It was slow. He'd have team meetings in his office once a week, and the thing was chirping all the time. The guys that I recruited in my plan said the meetings were torture because they had to contain their laughter as this guy twitched when it went off and they could see him breaking down mentally. For weeks they could see him in his office cursing and yelling at his computer. He even got to the point where he would either turn his country music up loud to wash out the sound, or simply not even use his office. IT even came out. His mistake was to let the office know, so they removed it the day prior to their arrival, and reinstalled when they left, and just thought he was nuts. Best vengeance ever. One delightful day, a coworker and I switched a fridge door, which was designed with internal handles for just such a decision, from opening on the left to opening on the right. Took about 10 minutes, and a Leatherman to do it. Next day, everyone comes in, tries to get creamer, and we delight in the mischief. Everyone handled it with varying degrees of aplomb, shook the fridge a bit, tried a few times, finally noticed the hinges, and went to the other side. Shrugs were not given. The boss trademark finally arrives, gets a cup of coffee, and goes for the creamer. Grabs the door on the left, and pulls. Hard. Coffee everywhere. But this guy, he knows he's right, he's always right, he's the boss trademark. Sets down his mug, swears a little, grabs the handle again, still the left one, mind braces his leg on the counter, and pulls so hard, the fridge comes out from the wall about 3 feet. Everything in the fridge, completely tossed about, and we, watching, eyes wide in amused horror, desperately choking back our paroxysms of laughter. In walks one of the salesmen, blabbing on his Bluetooth, gets coffee, opens the fridge with ease, notices up in the fridge, looks at the boss with a genuinely puzzled look, shrugs, gets his creamer and wanders off. The boss trademark swore like a sailor, stormed into his office and slammed the door, stewed a bit, then stormed out of the office. He didn't come back for a week. TLDR, I'm laughing so hard at the memory of this, it took me half an hour to type it out.